She also captured her own family life, her own memories of her own childhood on Emerald Hill, and much of the play captures exactly her own family, the things she saw, the accents and combinations of languages that she experienced as a child, in a really remarkable one-woman play. The other reason we thought we would tackle this exhibition, and the curators are here lined up on the side, ready to walk you around the show. Jackie Jung, Maria Joseph, and Pedro Moracavallo, that's moving right to left. They came up with the exhibition because in a certain way, the Peranakan Museum itself is a grandchild of Emily of Emerald Hill. And I'll explain that just for a few moments. There was a moment where Peranakan culture, especially in the 1950s and 1960s, fell out of style, became eradicated in the general Chinese impulse of Singapore and the Straits settlements, that this strange hybrid or fusion culture, ostensibly Chinese Malay, but also tapping into the Indian world, the Balinese world, the Philippines, Thailand as well, was more or less forgotten. It was an impure hybrid form. Stella Khan herself, the playwright, said she never thought of herself as Peranakan growing up. It took her a long time to even realize her own identity. And I think a lot of older Singaporeans might actually feel that way. So part of the rediscovery in the 80s of what it means to be Peranakan, of what it meant to have a collection of pink and green porcelain imported from South China, of what it meant to wear sarong kebaya rather than the cheongsam on a day-to-day basis, or to speak Baba Malay rather than Chinese or English. All of these things, people realized constituted a separate identity. Stella Khan's play, Emily of Emerald Hill, helped push that along. More famous manifestations of this culturally, like Little Nonya, pushed this along much further, perhaps, at least in the public imagination. And I like to think that the Peranakan Museum itself is a kind of descendant of this impulse to rediscover a forgotten past. A past we used to call Nonya culture, or even Straits Chinese, the terminology by which it still has currency in Europe. So we're very pleased to present this exhibition. We try to examine Stella's own impulses in creating it, and that's not only from her family, but also from the literary scene in Singapore in the 70s, where you had a bunch of locally educated writers, primarily in English, struggling for a voice, struggling for an identity, like writers did all over the world, looking for local subject matter, often with a humorous bent, tapping into the voices they heard on the street or in their families, and try to give it dramatic expression. Stella was part of that movement in the 80s and in a blossoming theater scene that moved from an amateur scene to a more professional one. We also try and look at the larger context in Singapore of how literary prizes, government funding pushed these kinds of things along. And then finally, we look at the play as it relates to Peranakan culture generally. So those are our motivations. This is what we've attempted to do in this exhibition. But I'm going to leave it to the curators to walk you through the exhibition, to answer specific questions. So